Hello, everyone. Welcome in if you are just joining us. Well, it is the top of the hour. My name is Emily Davidson, and I am the Director of Enterprise Marketing here at Sandler. And we are so thrilled to have all of you joining us today as we talk about channel sales and our refreshed channel sales series that will be launching here soon with Sandler. And today's session is really going to bring in one of our experts who, even before he was a part of the Sandler family and community, had 25 years of experience really honing his craft in the channel sales world. And he's been with the network for 8+ years. He's based out of Colorado. We are going to be joined here by Brian McDevitt as he talks about some of the strategies and tools you need to have in your toolkit to really scale your channel sales program. And if you're new to channel sales, this is for you. If you've been doing channel sales for a while, this is also for you with some of the latest strategies and tools that you can apply to your program today. So I'm super excited to introduce today's speaker on today's webinar. Please give a warm welcome to Brian McDevitt.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it. Very grateful to be with all of you today, and confident we'll have a little fun here together, and I'll be able to share some valuable knowledge. So again, as Emily said, we're here talking about our new channel sales series. Just to give you a little bit of context, I think it would be helpful to add a little more color to my background. So my first 7 years in sales was working at a channel. We had dozens and dozens of vendors that were trying to get our mind share, and I learned a lot about that side of things, being on the channel side of things. After that 7 year stint, I then went over to the vendor, manufacturer, call it what you will, side, and had in every company I worked at, I had a lot of success working with the channel, and I attribute that to really having had the experience of being on the channel side. I can say unequivocally that I would not have had the success I had on the vendor side had it not been for the leverage points of and the scale that I was able to get through the channel. There's just simply not enough hours in the day. So what I would kind of like to have you think about in an overarching way is that there's nothing overly complicated about this. It's fairly simple. There's no calculus involved, but it's not easy to understand all the various components and how we go about really leveraging that channel. So what does this program answer? What's it for? Who's it for? Those kind of things, right? So this is about mindsets, strategies, and tactics when we're working with the channel. What does it solve? I've mentioned this, but in a nutshell, what it solves is this helps us scale, right? We can continue to hire out salespeople at your company, and that's fine. We can scale that way, but we can scale much faster, much more efficiently and effectively by using the channel. So who's it for? It's going to be for all those sellers out there. In the IT world that I came from for 25 years, those folks are generally called. So we have our sellers, and then we have people who are responsible for managing the channel. In many cases, they're called CAMs, which stands for Channel Account Manager. Of course, sales leaders, VPs of sales, chief revenue officers, anybody who is responsible for sales, this is applicable to. So the other thing that I think will help lay a nice foundation for our conversation today is to describe to you what I call the 3 layers of the Sandler cake, because everything builds off of that. So the bottom layer of everything we do here at Sandler is psychology. What do we know about modern day psychology? Because in the end, sales is about interactions between human beings. And so let's leverage what we know about psychology. The next layer of the cake are Sandler rules, and we have lots of them. Let me give you a few of my favorites. We are in the discover versus convince business. People like to buy, they don't like to be sold, so we're not trying to convince people of anything. We are other centered. We are about them, we're not about us. We have a millionaire mindset. What does that mean? That means how would we act if we were 10x our number and we had another 10x in the pipeline? That's probably a good way to act all the time. And then lastly, and my favorite Sandler rule, which is people don't argue with their own data. Again, that probably warrants a little bit of explanation. When we're not that traditional pushy salesperson and we ask a potential channel partner what's important to them and what sort of margins they're looking for and things of that nature, and we're not trying to push them and they say what's important to them as opposed to us telling them what should be important to them, they will buy in because it's their own words. All right, so let's dive in and let's get into a little bit more detail here. So, if we think about box one, what comes to mind for me in this box one is something that maybe you're familiar with, maybe you're doing, maybe you're not doing, but something that has been a big help for me in my career is simply time blocking, understanding what are the important tasks I need to do and putting them in my calendar and not letting other things interfere with those. There's another concept here that I found very valuable called the Pareto Principle, otherwise known as the 80-20 rule. And this is proven look it up. I won't go into all the details now, but it's a cool concept. Where it applies to sales is that typically 20% of our efforts represent 80% of our output, of our sales. And let's figure out where those things are and make sure we focus there and don't get too reactive and scattered. I love the quote that I came across many years ago, which is, don't let the tyranny of the urgent interfere with the important. All right, so scattered focus. Let's talk a little bit about that. So this one to me is really important. So as we're building out a channel strategy, maybe again, you're at the beginning of this journey, maybe you've been doing it for a while, maybe you're fairly mature. But to me, where it starts is certainly we need to know who our ideal client profile is, our ICP, what partners are selling into that ICP, and then really asking ourselves, how well do we understand what that partner wants? This is a game of, like many other things in life, I think, where we're trying to get our unfair share of that partner's time and focus. And how do we do that? How do we get them to focus on our stuff? And how do we make sure that we're using our time in sort of that highest and best use? Okay, number three, pipeline without purpose. So a couple of quotes we like to use here at Sandler are applicable. So we can't manage anything we're not measuring. We need to inspect what we expect. What do we expect to happen, and are we measuring it? And what are our common objectives and measures with our partner? Do we really understand what's important to them? Do they understand what's important to us? And then lastly, this goes back a little bit to, I guess in a word, I would call it alignment. What we will say here at Sandler is that prospects don't know how to buy what you sell. So, and let me explain. So as you go to market with your partner, it's important that you identify we're a 3-call close. Let me just make up a scenario here. We're a 3-call close. At the end of the first meeting, if it goes well, we do this next. And then in the third meeting, we're going for the close. And it doesn't matter the details of that. What matters is that you have it understood on your side as the vendor, that the channel is aligned with that, and that you're going to market in a cohesive fashion. Too often I find we let the prospects drag us around by the nose and fall into their process. Again, people don't know how to buy what we sell. Therefore, we need to have a structured process. Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean we can't be flexible. But in general, it's important that us collectively as the vendor, along with the channel, know where we're trying to go. All right, lastly, number 4. So what does this mean? So within Sandler, we do have content that is directly applicable to what is commonly known now as client success managers, CSMs for short. So this is a different motion for how we retain and upsell. And that's what we're talking about here in these expansion opportunities. And so that needs to be a different motion, and we talk about that in this program. Okay, so how do we show confidence? Well, one of the ways that we can show confidence is to run effective and efficient meetings to increase our influence and authority. I'm not going to go into the details of this right now, but we have an extremely powerful, maybe the thing Sandler might be known best for, certainly in our top 3 or 4, we have something we call an upfront contract. Again, I'm not here to teach you what an upfront contract is. What I am here to tell you is that meetings that start well with a good agenda, good agreements of what we're going to cover, good agreements of who's going to do what during the meeting, and good agreement as to how the meeting might end. And there's probably multiple ways. Meetings that start well tend to end well. So that's what we can do there. Now, as we get into targeting growth with precision. So I talked a little bit already about identifying the ICP and the partners that sell into that ICP. This is what I found in my now 30 plus years of selling, including my Sandler time. There are companies who are channel first, meaning They do everything in their power to push as much business through the channel. In fact, there are channels out there that I've worked with that unless you're 100% channel, they won't even talk to you. That's not all of them, but that's some of them. And I've worked through several companies on the vendor side where we've gone from being mostly direct to being almost exclusively channel. And that is a question you should expect the channel. If I was at a channel and you came to me, I would ask you, are you channel first? And what does that mean? Now, when you go from, if some of you are in the place where you're mostly direct right now, there is common resistance around the channel is going to slow me down and the channel is double the work. And I've heard this and I've lived it. It is absolutely true that it is more work initially. But once we get the thing going, we get a flywheel effect. And again, what's this all about? This is all about scale to maximize and crush our numbers. Some other things that are really important to do as we think about the channel. We got to make sure that they're trained well. We don't just look to them to bring us into deals. We need to bring them into deals. And at the end of the day, every company is about making margin. If they can't make money on your product, good margin by their definition of good, you're not going to get any mind share. If they bring you into a deal and you don't protect their margin, you're done. And these people have long, and they should, memories. If they get shafted on a given deal, that propagates across the organization, and they probably aren't going to partner with you because there's lots of people knocking on their door for the same reasons we're having this conversation. This is about scale. Everybody knows that's the purpose of the channel. So figure out what your sellers really want. Ask them, have open and honest communications, get their guard walls down and be direct with them. What can I do if I'm talking to a channel to be the best vendor that you have? Let them tell you. And assuming you can do those things, do those things. Again, it comes back to that 80-20 rule. Within that channel, let's say there's 10 reps. There's probably 2 or 3 of them that are the people crushing the big deals. Those are the people you want to partner with. That's where we're going to make hay collectively. So that's something else we have to figure out. Okay, so manage the funnel with discipline. To me, this is back to aligning metrics and sales stages, right? Do they think about a deal the same way you think about it? Because if they're trying to take it this way and you're trying to take it this way, we've got a conflict. So we really need to be well aligned. That takes time, that takes planning, that takes trust. And then lastly, coach them to win more deals. So many years ago, when I was at a manufacturer, I found we tend to think that the big partners are the best ones, and they can be. But this particular case, I worked with a channel partner for 6 years. I had a 13-state patch. I had a very large patch. I basically had 6 salespeople at this reseller that worked almost exclusively for me selling my product. We were very, very well aligned. They had good margin. We had trust. They had divvied up those 13 states across those 6 sellers, and I traveled with all of them. And we killed it. I killed it. There's 7 of us selling at that point, right? So again, bigger isn't always better. Find somebody who's going to align with you. Find somebody who's going to spend time with you, who's going to get to know your story, who you can trust and co-sell well with. All right. So mindset. As I think about mindset, one of the Sandler rules, if you want to call it that, that was very powerful for me when I first took Sandler many years ago was equal business stature. We are not subservient to these channel people. We're not arrogant, but we have an equal business stature to them. As I've mentioned, the channel will take your mindset. I think it would be helpful to have a mindset that says it's going to be more work initially, but over time, it's going to give me the flywheel effect and allow me to scale. Simply put, multipliers at the bottom. The channel is our multiplier if we do it right. And now let's talk a little bit about motion. I'm going to introduce another Sandler concept to you here briefly. So we have a very powerful concept that we call cookbook. The play on words there is this is our recipe for success. So here's a simple way to think about it. As it pertains to your job, seller, channel account manager, VP of sales, chief revenue officer, etc., and as it pertains to the channel, think about what are the, let's say, 5 types of activities you need to do every week to maximize your leverage with the channel and your scale with the channel and your momentum with the channel. What are those 5 things? And then how many of each of those do you need to do in a given week? And let's just, for again simplicity's sake, you have 5 things you need to do, and you want to do 3 of each of them in a given week. Well, we can't manage anything we're not measuring, as I've already said. So write down what those 5 things are, and then track as you do each of the 3 ticks against those. Over time, look and see the results of these efforts, and then adjust the dials as appropriate. So that's how I think about mindset, motion, and multipliers. Now, I'm not going to go into each and every one of these, right? You can look at these and unpack these later. I will tell you that, look, we're not in the business of, as I've already said, we're other centered. We're in the discover versus convince business. We're not here to try to convince anybody that this is the right thing for you. If you'd rather figure this out trial and error, which I did for a while, that's fine. You'll get there. You'll eventually grow revenue. But if you want to get there faster, if that's important to you, you can get there much faster through leveraging the expertise that we have here at Sandler. I believe that we all need coaches. The most successful people in the world in any field, business, sports is certainly a good analogy here. As you all know, top athletes have not one coach, they probably have 6 or 7 or 8 coaches. So if we want to get there fast, we can go alone. If we want to get there fast and go further, we go together. So I hope you got some valuable tips out of this, and I hope that there's some of you that might be interested in learning more. If you are interested in learning more, having a 15-minute casual conversation, go to sandler.com/training-centers. Find your Sandler trainer near you and have a casual conversation. I wish you all well. I appreciate you all being here, and go crush it in your channel sales endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was awesome. And as Brian mentioned, we did revitalize and refresh our channel sales series, which will be launching and available here soon. So if you like what you saw here today, if this resonated with you and you want to get started on your channel sales program for this year in 2026, if that is a goal for you, make sure you visit sandler.com/training-centers to find your local Sandler representative, and they would love to have a conversation with you if this is a fit for you and your goals this year. Thank you so much again for being with us today, and happy selling.
Thank you.